Well, hi folks, this is Darren with My RV Works. Boy, we sure have a lot of furnace videos on our YouTube playlist that you can go and learn all about furnaces, and maybe your particular problem is on that list of videos we've made. What I have before you here is a customer brought us their furnace for me to do an annual service on. So what that means is they've taken it out of their RV, they brought it to Tricia and Sid's house in Sequim, they got it to me here in Joyce, and now I've got it here on my workbench, my mobile cart. I've already started doing an annual service on it, and as I'm working through the steps just to get it knocked out, because I can do this rather quickly and get on with my day kind of a thing, I decided as I'm going through this to do a full stop. Let's set up the camera, let's get me mic'd up, and let me walk you through what I'm going to be doing when I do an annual service. Okay, so that's what's going on with this video. I've already started it. I've already got the cover off. I've already got a little things going, but I didn't want to put it all back together again just to show you how I take screws out. So what I'll do is I'll pan the camera down and I'll talk you through the things I've already done, and then we'll pick up right where I would have been before the video. And so when we're done with this, you will hopefully know how to do an annual service on your furnace. What does that mean? Annual service means different things to different people, but when I've got a furnace like this, so this is something you should do at least every year, would be what the specification states from the manufacturer. Now, this is a Suburban furnace, an SF42Q. But this would work whether it's a Dometic, an Atwood, a Suburban. You're going to pull your furnace out and you're going to look at it and do some cleaning on it. So that's what's going on. Let me just kind of pan you guys down and give you an overview. If I feel you'd benefit from having some close-ups, I'll bring a camera closer and we'll get some video of me doing things up close. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so when I get a furnace, I don't know what the situation is going to be with it. So the first thing I like to do is run the furnace on my bench. To run the furnace on my bench, you've heard me in my videos talk about the 4 wires that are going to feed the furnace. Well, here they all are right here. Okay, so I've still got one connected to my test I was performing. So you've got, now some of you are going to have red and yellow, some of you are going to have red and black. Okay, I think I've even seen a white on here, but anyway, here's your 4 wires. 12 volts plus, your ground, and then these 2 blue wires. In this instance, I have a solid blue and have a blue with a white stripe. You might have 2 blues, you might have a light blue and a dark blue, but regardless, you're going to have 4 wires on all furnaces, regardless of the manufacturer. Okay, I am a fan of these WAGO connectors. Notice I said W-A-G-O. These are these snap lock connectors. There are several aftermarket connectors that do not have, they're not branded by, I'm going to say WAGO, WAGO, whatever. All of these snap connectors are not the same. Like I said, I've got some aftermarket ones, some non-branded kinds, and they are absolute trash. They fall off, they don't work, but these WAGO connectors do fantastic. So you're going to pay a couple extra bucks for them, but they are fantastic. So I have heard people talking trash about these style of connectors, but I would agree, if they're not the WAGO branded ones, they're correct. They're trash. Don't waste your money on them. Get the ones that are WAGO. So anyway, enough on that. So I like those on there. It makes it really easy to work on these things. Just snap them open. You don't have the crimp kind or the wire nut kind, and these will handle vibration. So I'm a big fan. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of clean up the ends and put the connectors on it so that I then can tap into the ends. And when I give this back to the customer, they're going to have these on it and they can very easily make their connections. Another thing I'm going to do, where's the end, is, where's the gas line? Oh, right here. Okay. I've got this little rubber cap. Okay. 14 millimeter. You can, if you're going to do this a lot, you can get the little rubber thing. Amazon's got them, little rubber caps or whatever. But we just recently did a water heater install, and this was on the end of that water heater. So I'm like, oh, cool. Well, okay. So what's that going to do? It's going to keep crap from getting inside of my gas line. So now I've rendered my furnace serviceable. I can run my power to it, and I've capped off my fuel line. So I'm going to, let's do it. Let's do it. So you've heard me talk a lot about my test lead set. I'm going to be using that a lot here. Like I said, I've already taken the burner apart, but we're going to get to that. But let's actually start this up as if I just got this on my desk. So let's see here. So to do that, let's see, we're going to go into the red, which is going to be plus. On my test lead set, I've got these little kind of DMM leads. I just stick it right in there and close the door on the deal, so he's there. And let's put this one on this side. Yeah, I was tempted to put this whole thing back together again, but I'm like, nah, we're not doing that. So I'll take a test lead. I'm going to be using 2 different test leads, so I like going with 2 because I could use them for different purposes. So now I've connected to that. I've got into this, and let's grab 2 big alligators here. Okay, I could go with a battery pack on my drill. Okay, it's a 12-volt tool, but I like going with a bigger battery when I'm doing a motor. So this one's gonna go to minus, this one's gonna go to plus. Okay, so now I have energized my furnace, all right? Red and yellow. And now to get it to start, I need to connect my 2 blue wires. I'm just gonna do a quick visual, yep. So I've got this whole burner out, but it's fine. All I'm testing for is I want to hear that motor run. I'm gonna make sure there's no binding. I'm gonna make sure that when the signal is given to the control board that the motor in fact will run. And so I just connect that right there. And there's a switch on here. You might need to make sure the switch is on. At this point, I may also, oh, hold on. Yeah. Okay, so I've got this disconnected. This is, when I was testing my gas solenoid, I unplugged this. So that is why it's not starting. So I'm gonna open that circuit, plug this back in. Like I said, I was working on this, and then I had this idea of doing a video, and I just threw the camera up there. And I didn't take the time to put this back together, but hopefully you can get enough value from this. There we go, it's idiot proof. Okay, so now I've connected my connector, the white connector, to the control board. So we're just gonna connect our 2 blue wires together. Okay. I'm gonna put my meter in DC mode, okay? And you hold it to the right angle of the wire, and you long press and you zero it out on the right, you go right angle to it. And now I'm gonna read the amperage going to my motor. I'm getting about 8 amps here. I hit my first click. I don't expect it to start. Okay, I'm getting a spark, okay. These will shock the hell out of you. So I just want to see if I can get a spark on it. I'm going to be sparking it to the frame. It'll try 3 times, and then it'll go into what's called soft lockout. Yeah, and it's shocking me. I am so glad I have a glove on. Okay. It's fine, it's grounded, so it's good. It's just trying to find a path to ground. Now I've got 8.3 amps. I'll explain soft lockout, hard lockout here in a second. 8.3 amps. If I was physically connected to the furnace in my RV and I've got some back pressure coming through some of the ducts, then I expect that number here to be closer to 10 amps. So basically the motor sounds healthy, it sounds good, it started right away. I don't hear any squealing sounds like the bearing or something is bad. It sounds very strong and healthy, good motor. Does that mean that the motor will last forever? No, it just means that when I did my test just now, that the motor started like I had expected. It doesn't have a squeaky sounding bearing, and it's got a nice healthy sound to it. Started right away, those types of things. So I've disconnected my blue. So therefore the call for heat has been taken away. This was the same thing as the thermostat being satisfied. Okay, so since we never did LP, I can basically just take my power away. So that was a real quick test on my motor. What was I testing there? The 12 volts can go into this, make it through the board, that my relay is actually going to close, and I'm going to start my motor, and I'm going to, my bearing is not squealing, my motor is strong and healthy, it doesn't have a flat spot. I read my amperage going to the motor. I'm getting 8 amps without any load on it. When I connect it to the RV with all the furnace and the ducts, I do expect my amperage to go up. We're looking for closer to around 10 amps at that point. So good test there, okay? And so here we use a test lead set with the big alligator clips and just the probes to connect directly into power, and then the Wago connectors to make them a connection. So we're good on that. The next thing I'm gonna wanna check is I'm gonna wanna get into here. Well, honestly, I'll tell you what, I've already got it taken apart, but as I'm checking that, I've got a little LP tap that I make, okay? Basically, it's a regulator. I've got it set to 11 inches of water column. Connect that to a little test propane cylinder that I carry around with me, and then I connect the other end directly to the gas line, and I will sit here on the bench and I can start and ignite my furnace, okay? So this is one of the tools that I keep in my kit, my service trailer, a little pigtail regulator and a hose, and a little small propane cylinder. And so I will have started this, let it run for 2 to 3 minutes. I want to feel this thing getting hot. I want to make sure that it's going to stay burning. I'm remembering I was talking about hard lockout and soft lockout. Let me go there real quick. If this furnace tries to start and it's going to try 3 times. Let's say you're out of propane. Let's say your cell switch isn't right. Let's say there's some problem with this and it was not able to ignite. It will try 3 times. After the 3rd try, it will go into what's called a soft lockout. Now, now, all these boards aren't the same. Different manufacturers do it different ways, but this is just a bell curve of my experience working with these things. What soft lockout is it's not going to try to ignite for an hour. After an hour, it's going to try 3 more times, and after it's tried 3 more times and it's not able to ignite, it will go into what's called hard lockout, which means it'll never, ever, ever try to start ever again. Okay? So you turn on your thermostat, it tries to start 3 times, it was not successful. It'll go into soft lockout. It'll set a timer for an hour. After an hour, it'll try 3 more times. After that time, it's in hard lockout and it'll never, ever, ever try to start ever again. It's done. You might have a blinky light on your board if you can gain access to your board and get your eyeball on your board, but typically you just don't know. How do you reset these things? You just turn your thermostat off and turn it back on again. That's all you have to do. So in my instance, since these 2 blue wires are the ones that are going to the thermostat, basically I just open them and reconnect them again. That will reset your hard lockout and your soft lockout. Okay, so I talked about the lockouts. It sounds terrible. Oh my gosh, hard lockout. Oh, it's terrible. So once I've done that, I wanted to hear it, and I did. I wanted to hear the burner burning, listen to, what I'm listening for is this ticking sound. You can hear the ticking sound, which is this electrode here. I'm listening for the ticking sound. As soon as I have ignition, within a very short order, I expect that ticking to stop ticking. If it continues to tick after I have ignition, then more than likely your furnace is going to turn itself off. What the ticking is it's rectifying your flame to verify, hey, yes, I have a flame. And the way it does that is, here's our burner that I've taken out, and this is mounted on the burner. I've got other videos where I have close-ups of this. That's why I'm just going to keep everybody up there and just do my talking points here. Now I have ignition. Let me get myself some slack here. There we go. I have some ignition, and if you can see, there's a gap between the electrode and the burner head. Okay, and I've got videos where you take a flashlight, you shine it in here, you see a lance down in here, you draw a line, I believe it's 5/16 of an inch, and you make a crisscross, and that's where this thing hovers, 1/8 of an inch to 3/16 of an inch over the burner. I've got videos on all that. I, being the control board, is going to send a very small milliamp current through this big orange wire, and I'm going to jump the gap through the air, but I'm not jumping it through the air because I can't jump in that to the air, but there's carbon in a flame, and so now I have a flame here. This thing is right in the sweet spot of the flame, and there's carbon in a flame. Therefore, I'm able to jump the gap through the flame because there's carbon in a flame, and I'm using carbon in the flame as my current carrying, I don't want to say conductor, but mode of operation, if you will, ether or whatever. But anyway, there's carbon in the flame, and as long as my gap is set correctly, I can make that jump. That is how the control board can tell that there's a flame, because that's actually moving current through the wire, through the flame to ground. This part is grounded. Got it? I feel like I'm repeating myself so many times because I've got so many videos on this. But anyway, I want to add value if you're watching only this one video. But if you needed more detailed information on how to set your gap, I know I've got several videos on how to do that. So anyway, customer brought us the furnace. We're going to do an annual service. So to get this piece off right here would be the next thing I'm going for. Okay, this goes on your burner there. Bunch of screws. You take a 5/16 crow's foot type of socket, you stick it down in here, and you're able to work this nut. This now comes off. When you have this in your hands, you will notice a small orifice on this side. You can loosen that and blow it out. I would not take a MIG file or anything like that to clean that. Isopropyl alcohol only. You could take this off if you need to clean it. This one's not dirty. I have a compressor in my shop. I took a hose and I blew out this, and I could feel the air flowing through it. I tried it both ways. This is nice and clean. I have found these where there's rust inside, and that rust will block that small orifice. We had a customer come all the way from South Carolina. He had problems with his furnace. He had stopped at multiple dealerships and shops along the way. Nobody could figure out what's wrong with his furnace. He gets it to us. We could smell gas, but no ignition. I knew right away the problem was this clogged orifice right here. So you take this apart, take out the, unscrew this, clean out your orifice. You'll find a lot of little insects and stuff that like to live in there. But this one's clean, okay? Also, it's good to replace this gasket. This is like a one-time use gasket right here. So we take this off and we're gonna put a new gasket on there. Once you compress it, it's good to put a new one on there. On that note, if you ever pull your toilet, it's always good to put a new, you don't use wax seals, you use these little foam donut looking deals on toilets. I've seen a couple of people putting wax seals on RV toilets. That's not correct. For your residential, yes, but not for your RV toilets. So once you compress this, you get a new one and it keeps it nice and airtight. So we've inspected this. So now we've inspected our motor, we've inspected our gas tube, okay? That's over here now. We've blown it out, make sure it's good. We take out all the screws, and then we're going to gain access to our burner head. On your burner head, a lot of times it's good to take the whole thing out. Sometimes you will see a hole in the bottom, and the only way to see that hole in the bottom is to take the thing out. It's just a couple screws. You've come so far to take this thing apart. Let's take the rest of the screws out to inspect your burner head. This one looks nice and clean. I'll take a nylon or a wire brush and just kind of scrape it really good. And again, compressed air to just blow it out, and you can just look at it. It looks healthy. Look inside, and if you look inside through the throat, you'll see that little lance sticking down. While you have this out and while you have all this loose, again, you would take your compressed air and you would just blast this thing out forwards and backwards, forwards and backwards. There was 2 bees that came out of this burn chamber here. So they had a terrible experience, but they're loose. They're going now. Now here we have our electrode. Now I've got it out. I'm going to grab the ceramic tightly and I'm going to just try to wiggle the electrode part. I'm looking to see if it's got that loose tooth kind of a feel. And it feels nice and tight. In fact, let me show you something as a comparison right here. I've got another furnace here in my trailer. I will be doing a video on this one behind me. On this one, this is from the other furnace. This electrode is very, very loose, very, very loose. And so what we were having happen on the furnace, it's in my service trailer, which I'll be doing a video on. This repair right here, I'm giving a little bit of a, what would it be called? A teaser trailer. We could smell the gas, we could hear the ticking, and it's not igniting. And that was this electrode. This electrode is very loose inside the ceramic. So you're looking for that when you're checking your furnace. That's gonna go back with that one. So this ceramic looks good. It's nice and tight. It's nice and squared off. It looks like a very nice electrode. If this electrode was rounded off, like it's been used a whole bunch, and it's like an old spark plug, then I would put a new electrode on. They're not that expensive. Okay, so now we have checked our motor for the squeaky bearing, made sure that our board tells the motor to start when we want to. We've read the current going through it. We've basically done a test run. We've inspected our burner, we've inspected our gas tube, we've inspected our burn chamber, we've blown everything out, we've inspected our electrode. The next thing I would do is I want to check my gas valve itself. On the bottom here, you will see the solenoid right here. It's a dual solenoid. They're dual solenoids because it's redundant. That's how they roll with these things. And so what we're going to do now, and this is about the part I got to when I decided to do my test. So we need to energize that solenoid to allow 12 volts to go through it. So I'm going to unplug my connector here. Okay, so I've unplugged my connector that goes to my control board. I will then dig into my handy little test lead set. I'm going to take my little pointy pin and I'm going to stick it on the back side on the brown wire. I don't want to go on the front side because I don't want to mess with those pins at all. So I'm going to go on the back side and I'm just going to wedge that right in to make sure I'm touching the conductor. There we go. Okay, so I've got my red pointy pin out of my test lead set connected directly into my white connector on the backside, and I've unplugged my connector from the control board. Okay, and so then I'll take a test lead. Well, before I do the test lead, I need, there they are. Okay, so I need this red one. This red lead right here, and basically I'm just going to connect it right into the pin, which is going to be touching the brown. So I'm grounded. I'm energizing my brown wire. Brown wire is going to go to the solenoid. Here I have my two. Move that over a little bit. Everybody's still in the shot. Yes. Let's get the battery. I'm just gonna stick the battery right here. Okay, plus and minus. You'll hear a subtle audible click. Let's see here, this is minus, this is plus. You'll hear a click sound. There you go, here's your click. That's me. I'll use a can of office air. Let me grab that right here. So now that I've got my gas solenoid energized, I'm going to take just a can of office air like you'd use to clean your keyboard, and I'm just going to stick it right inside where the gas is going to go. And I'm going to put my finger here on the output side where it's going to go into the gas valve. I've got a nice steady stream of air going all the way through the plumbing. So that is to say, I can feel it right where this is being connected. So now I'm going to go backwards with it. I'm going to just put that right in there, and I'm going to feel it coming out of here. Yeah, really nice stream of air. So therefore, if there was any debris or anything that was lodged in my gas valve, I just blew it in both directions. Okay. So let's take. You're going to hear a click. Well, it wasn't a big click because I de-energized my solenoid. So now we know that we're clean. We'll put our cap back on, unplug our pointy probe, put him away. Okay, so now what have we done? Checked our motor, done a test fire, we've checked our burner, we've checked our electrode. We're looking at the wiring of our electrodes. Sometimes these can get brittle and cracked. I've also taken it over to my outside bench over there, and I've taken my compressed air and just blown the whole thing out. I've looked at my fan impellers. I don't see any dander or dirt or anything there. I can check my sail switch here, which I'll be taking this cover off to do that. We need to get a new gasket. These aren't that expensive. I just stock them. So at this point, we need to put this back together, but let's now take the front half of the cover off and let's inspect our sail switch. Okay. Another thing that we will have inspected is this burn chamber. A lot of times they'll crack right in here. This is a really hot spot, and all the cracks that I've seen on these things has been right in this area because the flame's coming. It's about to make this right angle turn, and I guess inside it gets kind of spirally. And this is a really popular place where we see cracks. So you're going to look for cracks there, but you're also just going to do a whole visual inspection on this. If there's a crack, you might notice it. So I'm looking at our burn chamber. Everything looks nice. Everything looks good. I'm looking at the wiring going to the back of the high temperature thermostat, which is on the back here on the Suburban. On the Dometic, they're in a different location. They're more in the front. But they do go over the sharp edge. I just want to make sure that they're not cutting. Everything looks good. I'm doing visuals. Everything looks nice. Everything looks good. So now, looks like a couple screws. Basically, I'm going to take these screws off the cover and inspect my sail switch. So let's do that real quick. Ah, that's a screw I was looking for. Outstanding. Perfect. I thought I'd lost a screw and I just found it. So I was going to have to get a spare screw. So now that's going to be Phillips. So at this point, we're going to take this cover, the fan cover off. Look at our sail switch. Just inspect the impellers a little more closer. Okay, so here we have in the shot. Yeah, here's our sail switch, and since I've got this, I'm just going to blow this out a little bit. Okay, it looks good. I don't see any dander or cat hair, dog hair, human hair. That's typically what you'd find. We did a video where the customer was a heavy smoker and they had tarred up this whole, the switch sounded good and healthy, but there was so much tar on this furnace from breathing in all the tar from the cigarette smoke, it basically rendered half the furnace useless because it was choking because of all the tar or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that's plugged in. That looks nice, good, nice and clean. We can now put this back together. So this again is your annual service. There's nothing wrong with this furnace, but this is what you do once a year. I'd like everybody to become familiar with doing this. So if you pay somebody to do an annual service, this kind of should be what they should be going through. I believe the flat rate is 1 hour to do an annual service. That does not include pulling the furnace. Sometimes if we're doing an annual service on it, it's necessary to pull the furnace out, which is an additional task. There we go, perfect. It's an additional task, so you have to pull the furnace. So in this instance, the customer did all their furnace pulling, so they didn't have to pay for us to pull the furnace out. They're just gonna pay us to do the annual service on it. So whatever the shop rate is at the shop, your shop, whoever shop you take it to, typically it's a 1 hour flat rate to do what we're doing here. And as you see, we're going pretty deep, looking at everything, testing everything, cleaning everything. Okay, so you could learn how to do this yourself, and you do not have to be certified in any way, shape, or form to do this. You just have to know what you're looking for and then have some parts, cleaning things like that. So now I'm going to reconnect my connector that I disconnected, reconnect my electrode wire, which I disconnected. Okay, so now at this point, we're almost done. I will reassemble. For your benefit, I'll do that. This is entangling itself. Okay, so these things they're hateful. They're going to cause blood. So anyway, our burner looks good. Now, if any of these parts did not look good, I would replace them. So the burner basically goes in there. It's pretty idiot-proof how it all fits together. I'm happy I found that extra screw. And I need to reach in and grab a foam gasket. I don't know if these are magnetic or not. Let's see here. Are they magnetic? Yes, they are. So since those are magnetic, we've got this fancy little screw magnetizer here. You just go to magnetize. My bit wasn't magnetized. Okay. A lot of these parts and tools you see me working with, we've got on our Amazon affiliate store, including that. I use that a lot. Come on, get in there. There it is. It only fits one way, so you'll know when you've succeeded when it slides just in place. So these I'm just gonna put in, but loosely, because I'll snug them up here in the end. But everything needs to mate. So the screw's set, but it's not tightened. Okay, there it is. Suburban's made some changes. This one still has this little tab that goes over to mate these two pieces. I did one not too long ago. It was a newer one, and they went away with that little tab. So not all of them have that. I am really curious if these screws are metallic or not. I magnetized my tip, but they keep falling down. I don't think they're, must be stainless or something, I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna tighten these down. Okay, I'm gonna check my gap. What I'm looking for is 1/8 of an inch. Now to check 1/8 of an inch, you just take an 1/8 of an inch Allen key. I've got yellow paint on mine, and I'm just gonna slide it right under, and it's perfect. So an 1/8 of an inch Allen key is what you could use to check your gap on your electrode. So we're good there. Let me reach in and grab a foam gasket. If you need a foam gasket, here's your part number. I'll hold it up to the camera so everybody can see. Hope everybody can see your gasket number. Okay. Do they have a tear off thing? No. if you were to have pulled your blower head off, there's another gasket there. And sometimes the some of your Suburbans, you'll have a nut right here so my point is, some of them have a single nut, and then this new one has 2 screws. So therefore my pre-molded gasket doesn't have that. I need to pop 2 holes in it. No big deal. All right, this is the part that I hate about the whole thing, and that is getting this screw onto that nut. The trick that I do is I take just a teeny dab of PB Blaster. I know it's flammable. You're going to tell me about the flash point. And I just put the smallest little dribble of this right in there. And what this is going to do, there we go, is this going to make that a little bit easier to turn as I'm trying to get it started on those threads. So I'm not putting the PB Blaster in here. Even if I did, it wouldn't matter because it's going to burn up anyway. All I wanted to do is make this part here a little bit easier to turn. Okay? Because this next part is, sometimes you get lucky, and then sometimes it's just an absolute pain to get these holes aligned. I know what I'm talking about. And part of the problem, now this one I might be able to get my hand in there. I might have gotten it right there. So here's where you take this. Nope, see? And it'll trick you. You'll think you'll have it, but then you won't. So on the back side, I need to go to the Suburban factory and see how what their trick is to get this. 'Cause this is the part that I hate on taking these things apart, is getting this nut screwed back in. See, I'm screwing, and it's got to be perfectly squared to get started. I've lost a half an hour. So I'll tell you what, to save everybody, I'm gonna fight with this. You don't have to watch me fight with it, but all I'm trying to do is get that nut back on that screw head way up in that hole. This is the most frustrating part of these furnaces, is what I'm doing right here. Getting that nut aligned onto the gas valve. It's in a very small cavity. You can't get your hand all the way in it, and you got to get it turned, and this thing is very unforgiving. Every technician I talk to has the same problem. Suburban must do this, must make this assembly before they put these on. And just leave it to us. I eventually get it, but yeah, I've lost a half an hour on these things before, man. I think I got it. Let's get a couple turns on it. Okay, folks, that was painful, but I finally got, it's not tight yet, but I finally got that nut started on that gas valve. So, you know, just be patient. And I've never not gotten it, but I have lost so much time sometimes getting that alignment right. So it's snug, and so you want it to be like millwright tight. So we're gonna just kind of, okay, so I'm gonna grab it and just kind of put a little bit of a, there we go, okay. So that's all nice and snug. I did put one screw on this just to hold the gasket in place, and so then you just put all these screws back in, compress your new gasket in place. I like to think of putting a spare tire on, or tire on. I just kind of work my way around and around, not in one spot. Okay, that leaves these two screws. Then I did drop one. Okay, I'm gonna get 2 new screws for that. All right, I've got them. Let me grab the 2 screws. All right, we're back. And I got 2 new stainless steel screws to go right in. So I've got a screw in the driveway here. Okay, so we're good there. Now, I'll take some butyl tape. Let me get that now. That was one of my observations I made on this one when it came to me, is the butyl tape here was kind of lacking. Okay, so you just kind of wad it up, get it warm so you could work with it a little bit. And make a gasket right there around beauty. Should have been a sculptor. Okay, we're winding up. So we've checked our burner, we've checked our electrode, we've checked our gap, we've checked our gas valve, we've checked our orifice on the gas valve, we've checked our heat exchanger, we've blown air through our fuel valve to make sure that there's no restrictions in that. We've checked our sail switch. We've looked at our impellers. Everything's looking good. Our control board's doing everything we expect the control board to do. So at this point, I think we could safely fire this thing up and do a full test on it. So this is what I did in the very beginning. You'll see the benefit of me doing it now. So I'm gonna unplug that, plug this in. I'm about to use a crescent wrench and a channel lock. You guys are going to yell at me because I'm not using the right fittings, but this is how I do it in the field. Had I been in a shop space with all my tools, yes, I would have the correct crow's foot or the closed wrench. But anyway, I read the comments and some people don't like that I don't use the exact right tool, but I think that they might be confusing me with somebody that works in a shop with my little snap-on toolbox that travels around with me, and that's not what we do as a mobile RV service. So if they're hung up on that, they need to focus on taking their thing to a shop. Okay, so we have our propane cylinder. It can be safely placed down here. So now we're going to take this test lead there, black goes there. The other end of this, I believe, is my alligator clips. We're actually done with these. Okay, we're done with that. And the battery is right here. Minus to minus, plus to plus. And I am going to be the thermostat, and I'm going to do a call for heat here. And this time I'm going to start it and let it run for a few minutes. Here we go. So here's our click. I'm going to put out some heat. You could look through this little window if you don't get caught and look at the electrode. It's going to do a pre-purge for about 18-20 seconds in that neighborhood. Okay. I do not see a spark. Just make sure we're plugged in. Yeah, we're like, oh, okay, note to self, you got to turn the gas valve on. Okay, now the propane cylinder is turned on, and now we have ignition. So, and I want to hear that again because I'm going to be listening for that ticking sound. So I'm going to be the thermostat. I broke my circuit. I'm going to reconnect it again. This time I'm listening for that tick. Ow, that thing's hot. Wow, that got hot really fast. So I'm listening for the ticking. So all I did was I broke the blue circuit and reconnected it again. And the ticking stopped right after we have ignition, so that's good. So I'm gonna let this run for a few minutes, and that will allow me to verify that the gap, it'll allow me to verify that the control board is able to detect the flame, that my gap is correct, and everybody's happy. So Still putting out some really good heat. It sounds nice and healthy. So at this point, if the furnace were to extinguish itself, that would tell us that the board is not able to detect it's not able to rectify its flame, and so our gap is wrong, the electrode's wrong. So I'm going to actually disconnect it now because it's starting to get really, really hot. So I am the thermostat. I just broke that circuit. This is the other end of that connector. This is how it's going to get to the customer. And I'm going to let it cool itself down, turn off my propane cylinder. Disconnect my propane cylinder. Take my channel locks, which I know you guys don't approve of. You do need a backup wrench on these things. I do have the correct wrenches, but like I said, when you're in the field, oftentimes it's just a flare fitting. Okay. Put the cap back on it to keep the debris from getting in. This thing will now run for about 90 seconds from where the circuit was broken and go through its post-purge, which is about a 90-second deal, and just cleaning itself out. So I think at this point we have done and performed a good annual service. I see one loose screw right there. I'm just going to snug that up a little bit. There you go. And I'll do a final visual overview on everything, you know, tie wraps on cables, things like that, just to finish it up. And this screw right here looks like it might be a little loose. There we go. All right, well folks, so that is how I perform an annual service on a furnace when it's brought to me. Now, if this was still in an RV, at that point I would be getting an amp reading on my wire, and I expect to get closer to 10 amps when I'm pushing against everything. Okay folks, well I hope that added value to you. Some of my talking points, going over things you could do to your furnace, saving yourselves a lot of trouble from taking it to a dealership or a shop. You can do this yourself. Just watch through my video, get some basic tools. And we didn't do, now if I was on the RV, I would also do a pressure test. I would get my manometer and make sure that my pressure was good. But if you're gonna do just this, you would do well, okay? So hope this helps you guys. Give us a thumb up, share this with other folks so they can benefit from it as well. Hey, if there's any interest in becoming a mobile RV service shop like what we do, we've started a series. You get access to it through our Patreon. So you go to our Patreon site, links down below in the description, and you can access that content. It's basically going to go the full year, 50 something episodes, and we're basically throwing the doors open to our office, to our business, and just letting you ask questions and get yourself started in your own mobile service business. Basically, I don't have all the answers, but I've been doing this long enough and maybe I can help you guys out. So we are offering that, so I just wanted to give you a shout out that might be something you're interested in. So this is Darren with My RV Works. We're in Joyce, Washington, and we're doing an annual service on a customer's furnace. Hope this helps, and we'll see you on the next video. Where happy campers say My RV Works. All right, bye.